Okay, so you want to own a laundromat. Buy the machines, open the doors, and let quarters and laundry carts pile up from customers who have no choice but to keep coming back, week after week, for as long as they don't own a washer themselves. No inventory to spoil, no employees required if you run it unattended, just steady, recurring cash from a service nobody can put off forever. That is the dream, and it is not entirely wrong. Here's what it doesn't tell you. This is one of the only small businesses in America whose entire modern reputation was shaped by gangsters. And the all-cash structure that made it so useful to organized crime a century ago is the exact same structure that puts legitimate owners under a level of financial scrutiny most retail businesses never face.
Let's start with what it costs to open one. Total startup costs in 2025 and 2026 generally run $200,000 to $500,000 for a new mid-size location and can exceed $1 million in a premium urban footprint.
Commercial washers and dryers alone typically run $150,000 to $300,000 for a medium-sized facility, at $1,500 to $5,000 per individual machine. And most laundromats operate 40 to 100 machines total. Real estate build-out adds another major chunk, with monthly lease rates commonly running $2,000 to $10,000, depending on size and location.
Add payment kiosk systems at $40,000 to $80,000, water heating infrastructure at roughly $30,000, permits, insurance, and initial supplies, and a fully capitalized new build easily lands in the $400,000 to $600,000 range once you include a proper working capital cushion, since most models show a minimum cash need well into six figures, even after the doors open and the machines are already generating revenue. Before you spin a single load, you're locked into an unusually specific set of fixed costs most first-time owners underestimate. Utilities are the biggest recurring line item, running $4,000 to $8,500 a month, since the business runs entirely on water, gas, and electricity at industrial volume. And unlike almost any other retail business, that utility bill barely moves, whether the store is packed or empty, because the machines still need to be heated, powered, and ready the instant a customer walks in.
Maintenance is constant and unavoidable. Service calls for repairs run $120 to $500 each, and with dozens of machines running continuously, something is always due for attention.
And because most laundromats run unattended for large stretches of the day, specifically to avoid labor costs, owners have to spend meaningfully more on security systems and surveillance just to protect the cash and equipment sitting inside an empty building all night.
Here's the part of this industry's history that every owner eventually has to reckon with, whether they realize it or not. The all-cash, high-volume, hard-to-audit nature of a laundromat is precisely why organized crime figures gravitated toward it in the first place.
During Prohibition, mob figures earning enormous illicit cash from bootlegging and gambling needed a legitimate-looking business that could plausibly explain large amounts of cash flowing through it every single day. And a laundromat, where nobody questions why quarters keep piling up, fit perfectly.
Chicago's Al Capone is widely credited, whether fully accurate or partly legend, with popularizing the practice of running illicit profits through a chain of laundromats, reporting cash sales far higher than what the machines actually took in to explain money that had really come from elsewhere entirely. His contemporary, Meyer Lansky, took the concept further, eventually engineering the more sophisticated international laundering techniques that gave the entire practice its modern name.
The connection was strong enough and useful enough to organized crime for decades afterward that money laundering became the permanent term for disguising illegal proceeds as legitimate income, named directly after the exact kind of business you're considering buying.
That history isn't just trivia. It's a real, ongoing cost for legitimate owners today.
Because laundromats remain a cash-intensive business model, they draw disproportionate attention from tax authorities and banking compliance systems compared to a similarly sized retail store that processes everything by card. Owners have to maintain meticulous, defensible cash handling records, reconcile coin and card revenue daily, and be prepared for the kind of documentation scrutiny that businesses dealing primarily in electronic payments rarely encounter, an invisible compliance tax that exists purely because the business model this industry pioneered decades ago is still structurally the easiest kind of business in America to fake revenue through. Once you're past that hurdle, the revenue model is genuinely simple and durable. The core layer is self-service wash and dry revenue, priced per load and collected through coin, card, or app-based payment. A second layer is value-added services, wash and fold drop-off, pickup and delivery, and commercial contracts with nearby hotels, gyms, or medical facilities needing bulk laundry handled reliably. Services that carry meaningfully higher margins than the coin-op machines alone. Vending machines for detergent and snacks add a small but steady third layer. And because laundromats maintain an unusually high long-term survival rate, generally cited around 90 to 95%, the business model itself is genuinely resilient once it clears its opening hurdles, precisely because demand from renters and apartment dwellers without in-unit machines doesn't meaningfully fluctuate with the broader economy. Let's run the numbers on two scenarios. Optimistic case, you open a well-located 100% card and app-based laundromat for $450,000 in a dense rental neighborhood with limited nearby competition. You add a wash and fold service and one or two commercial contracts within the first year, generating $180,000 in annual revenue against operating costs, utilities, maintenance, and lease of roughly $110,000, leaving a genuine $70,000 annual margin, with the option to add a second unattended location once the first is running smoothly, since the business model scales well without proportionally scaling labor. Realistic case, the same $450,000 laundromat, but you continue accepting significant cash volume without airtight daily reconciliation, treating record keeping as a lower priority than simply keeping machines running. Revenue and margin look identical on paper, but without documented, defensible cash handling procedures, a routine bank compliance review, or a tax audit, precisely the kind cash-heavy businesses attract more often than card-only retailers, can turn into a costly, time-consuming ordeal, even when every dollar reported is entirely legitimate, because the burden of proof sits with you, not with the auditor, in an industry whose entire cash-handling reputation was shaped by people who were, in fact, hiding something. So if you decide to own a laundromat, understand what you're actually buying. You're not just buying a low-labor, recession-resistant cash machine, though it can genuinely be that. You're buying into an industry whose defining historical use case gave the entire concept of hiding illegal money its name. And that history still shapes how closely cash-intensive businesses like yours get scrutinized today. Run it clean. Document everything. And this remains one of the most durable small businesses in America. Treat the cash casually, the way this industry's most infamous early owners did, and you may find out the hard way why banks and auditors still look twice at a business built entirely on quarters.